guys, and I hope today's good, but better watching this video. Today I'll be sharing my experience with you and telling you how to pass your 11 plus. I have posted a part 1 and this is part 2, so if you haven't already, make sure to check out part 1, links in the description, and you need to check that out because that covers all the basics, and if you don't understand the basics you won't be able to understand any of this, so make sure to check it out. Most schools require you to do your 11 plus to get into a secondary school if you live in the UK, and I did my 11 plus in Buckinghamshire and the pass mark is 121 and I got 149, which means I passed, but I worked really hard for that. So I have lots of tips on how to pass, and I'll also be answering a lot of your questions. So without any further, let's get started. Now I'm going to be answering 3 of the most popular questions that people want to know about the 11 plus. The first question is how long you need to prepare before you actually take the test. Well, this depends. I started preparing at the end of year 4ish and I worked about half an hour, but by the end I was working for about 1.5 hours per day, and that paid off. If you do well in school, you can start about 2 months into year 5ish. Even though it is better to start early, this is just a rough working out. But if you don't do that well, you can just work on the basics like mastering your mental maths, addition, subtraction, multiplication in the middle of year 4. So the second most popular question is, what are the subjects? I did address this in my other part 1 of how to pass your 11 plus, but if you didn't watch that, then there are non-verbal, which is just about shapes and patterns. This is easy to do if you have a good imagination and if you're good at working out puzzles. So if you don't want to study, you just want to make it fun, you can go online or do some puzzles which are quite fun. And then there's a verbal, and this is just letters and numbers, so it's a bit of maths and English. And then English, that's just comprehension, vocab. Maths is word problems and also some calculations. English and maths are not really a problem. You might have to learn some extra maths and be more confident with your vocab, but other than that you should be fine with that. But verbal and non-verbal aren't taught in school, so that's quite hard. You want to start practicing that first, but don't work too hard because some people are naturally good at it. This is going to be the last question I answer before telling you how to actually pass your 11 plus and tips and tricks to do it. So this is what books and how much material should you do. You don't want to get too much material or you're going to be stressed that you don't complete it. The first option is to go online and you can find loads of free booklets, and I actually printed out these are familiarization booklets, and you can find these online. These are for GL's assessment. I believe there are some for CEM, and then there's loads and loads of practice questions in here. There's about 4 sections in them. This is perfect because it's the exact level of difficulty in the 11 plus, so I highly recommend this, and these are free. With this you should find a parent's guide, and in this there's loads of useful information about what is non-verbal reasoning, about this paper, and then there's resources, how to work through the paper, timing the paper, marking, and then how you use your feedback. And then this is all the information, and then after it there are some answers in here. So how this works, you read through the instructions at the front of the page, and this feels exactly like the 11 plus, and you can even ask your parents to read it out to you if they're free, and then you just complete the test, parent marks it, and then you use your feedback to see what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. So then you move on to these study books. So these are actually 10 minutes tests, but I actually did have some study books for each subject, and they just basically say all the basics of the subject and what each type of question should look like. And these are some of them here. These are the study books. There's one for each subject. And then afterwards you've mastered all of that, you need to learn all the basics, and then you can move on to these 10 minutes tests which look like this, and these are just quick tests you can do, and I found these really helpful because the answers are in a separate booklet down here, and they all have explanations, which is so good because sometimes I don't know how I went wrong, so you can just read some of these. Once you've done them, you can move on to these tests. So they come in packs, So they look like this, and they have all the instructions on the front, basically like the familiarization booklets that I showed you at the start. Before we move on to the tips, I'm going to tell you, make sure you guys like, subscribe and turn your post notifications if you want more 11 plus themed videos. And now we're going to move on to the 6 tips. The first tip is to start your preparation earlier, because it leave you with less stress, because you know you've tried your best and not put it off till the last time. Tip number 2 is to set a practice time. You don't want to practice for too long, or you're going to get really bored, you can't concentrate, and you're going to get lower marks each time, and that's basically pointless, because whatever you learn, it's not going to stick into your head. Tip number 3 is to familiarize yourself with the questions, and you can use the practice books to do that. And you want to do this before you actually start the practicing, because if you don't, you're not going to understand any of the questions, and you're not going to understand what multiple choice is, and you're going to end up really struggling in your actual 11 plus. Tip number 4 is to work on your question technique. And this should be the most efficient method, and try and think of a method that you feel comfortable with for each one, because if you get that type of question, you can easily answer it instead of just thinking of a formula inside your brain. Tip number 5 is to revise quite a lot before your 11 plus. So like the last week, you want to do quite a lot of revising so you can refresh your memory and do quite well in the test, because if you're going to learn something new, then you probably can't do it in just a week, and you're going to forget your old things. So you refresh your memory and don't try and learn anything new, or you're going to waste your energy. You want to save all your energy until the test day so you can do really well. Tip number 6 is to increase your vocabulary, and you can do this by just reading new books, longer books like Harry Potter. Harry Potter is really interesting and it has quite a new vocab in it, so it's really helpful. I started reading Harry Potter during my 11 plus and I enjoyed it, and I learned quite a lot of things from it, so I recommend you do it too. The 7th and the last tip I'm going to give you today is to keep going. 11 plus is a one-time opportunity, so make sure to use it, and if you don't pass, and it's not the end of the world. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope this helped you, because this is the way I prepared and I passed, so I really hope you pass. And if you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Once you subscribe, turn your post notification bell to be notified every single time I post a new video, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.